In 2021, in the misty forests of Fujian province, southern China, locals uncovered something extraordinary, a skull, darkened by soil, hardened by time. At first glance, it looked human, but the longer scientists stared, the stranger it seemed. Its brow was heavy, its jaw enormous, its vault thick. It was human, but not like us. Dated to 300,000 years ago, this fossil, named Homo Tsaichangensis, belonged to a world already crowded with human forms. In Africa, archaic Homo sapiens walked. In Europe, proto-Neanderthals hunted. In Asia, Homo erectus lingered. However, this skull didn't resemble any of them. It was something else, something in between. And this in-betweenness is what makes it so important. Because it challenges the very story we tell about who belongs on our family tree. For decades, textbooks described human evolution as if it were simple. Africa gave birth to us, Europe held the Neanderthals, and Asia was a side story. But discoveries in the last 20 years tore that picture apart. The hobbit, Homo floresiensis, was only 1 meter tall, living in Indonesia just 50,000 years ago. Homo luzonensis, from the Philippines, has a bizarre mix of primitive and modern traits. The Denisovans, who left no faces, only DNA and a few bones, yet whose legacy still lives inside billions of people today. And now, Homo Tsaichangensis, a skull that seems to echo all of them at once. Asia, once thought empty, was actually a stage overflowing with forgotten humans. And this stage may have hosted more crossovers, encounters, and interbreedings than anywhere else on Earth. At this point, let me pause the story for a heartbeat. Exploring these shadows of humanity takes time, research, and passion. If you want to keep this channel alive, to help us dig deeper into these mysteries, consider becoming a member. Your support means we can keep telling the stories of those who can no longer speak for themselves. When scientists reconstructed Homo Tsaichangensis, they were unsettled. The brow ridges were heavy, more primitive than ours. The skull vault was thick and low, an archaic trait. The jaw was massive, without a chin, something all archaic humans share. Yet, the face was flat, surprisingly modern. Unlike Neanderthals, unlike Erectus. It was a mosaic, like someone had taken pieces from different humans and pressed them into one skull. Brain size? 1100 cc, smaller than ours, larger than Erectus. Again, stuck in the middle. And here lies the paradox. This skull was too young to look so old. But maybe too young is the wrong way to see it. Maybe Asia was not behind, but different. 300,000 years ago, the world was in flux. In Africa, early Homo sapiens appeared. In Europe, Neanderthals were taking shape. In Siberia, Denisovans were spreading quietly. And yet, in Fujian, Homo Tsaichangensis lived, looking partly like a relic of Homo erectus, partly like a cousin of us. Was this species a survivor of older humans, or a hybrid, the child of different lineages meeting in Asia? Without DNA, the answer slips through our fingers. But what if this skull is more than a survivor? What if it is a bridge? To test this, we must compare it with its mysterious neighbors, Homo daliensis and Homo longi. In northern China, 2 other fossils stir controversy. The Dali skull, from 200,000 years ago, shows features similar to sapiens, yet too early to be us. The Harbin skull, Homo longi, massive and strange, was called Dragon Man by Chinese scientists. Some even suggest it could be Denisovan. Now compare them with Homo Tsaichangensis. All 3 share flat faces, heavy brows, and thick skulls. Are they separate species, or regional variants of the same mysterious population? Some anthropologists whisper these might all be Denisovans in disguise. But without DNA, we cannot be sure. What we do know is this. East Asia, once dismissed as peripheral, might actually have been a core zone of human evolution, with its own experiments, its own survivors. And survival, in this world, depended not only on anatomy, but on landscapes. Why would such archaic-looking humans survive in southern China when elsewhere lineages had vanished? The answer may be isolation. Fujian is cut by rivers, forests, and mountains. In prehistory, this region could have acted like an island, not surrounded by water, but by natural barriers. Just as Homo floresiensis survived on Flores Island in Indonesia, shielded from progress, Homo Tsaichangensis may have been preserved in this green labyrinth. Isolation freezes time, but it also dooms. Once modern humans entered Asia around 60,000 years ago, isolation was no longer protection. But what if the meeting between them was not extinction, but a mixture? Today, millions of people in East Asia, Tibet, and Melanesia carry Denisovan DNA. It strengthens adaptation to high altitudes, affects the immune systems, and even influences metabolism. But here's the twist. We don't know what Denisovans looked like. Their fossils are too few. Could Homo Tsaichangensis, or its relatives, be the missing face of the Denisovans? Its flat face matches genetic reconstructions. Its jaws fit the profile. Its age overlaps with Denisovan timelines. Imagine, when you breathe in Tibet, the oxygen in your blood may be managed by genes inherited from beings who looked like the skull in Fujian. And if this is true, Homo Tsaichangensis never really vanished. Part of it lives on in us. Across China, Tibet, and the Himalayas, legends whisper of wild men, the Yeren, the Migoi, the Yeti, hairy, human-like, glimpsed in forests and mountains. Most dismiss them as myths. But could such stories be cultural memories, passed down from encounters with archaic humans? Anthropologists note, myths often preserve truths. In Flores, villagers told stories of small forest people, long before scientists found Homo floresiensis. Could the same be true for Homo Tsaichangensis? Not proof, but perhaps a trace. But science is not content with stories. It demands debate. And the debate over this skull is fierce. Not all scientists agree that Homo Tsaichangensis deserves its name. Some call it just a late Homo erectus. Others think it may be early Homo sapiens, trapped in an archaic form. The problem is incomplete evidence. One skull, no DNA, no cultural artifacts. We don't know how they lived, what tools they made, what fires they lit. And yet, this skull refuses to fit. It is an outlier, and outliers are dangerous. They break our neat timelines, and sometimes one fossil is enough to rewrite the map of humanity. So, who were the people of Homo Tsaichangensis? Were they survivors of Homo erectus? Were they the face of the Denisovans? Or were they something else, a species we have not yet named? Their skull sits in a museum today, silent, but not without voice. It asks us, do you really know who you are? Do you really know where you came from? Our family tree is not a ladder, but a forest, and in that forest, Homo Tsaichangensis lingers. A shadow, a whisper, a reminder that Asia, long ignored, may hold more secrets than we have ever dreamed. And if a forgotten human could survive in Fujian's forests 300,000 years ago, what else waits, buried beneath the soil, undiscovered? Because the scariest question is not what we know, but what we don't yet know. If you've walked with me through skulls, shadows, and forgotten faces, don't end the journey here. Subscribe to 5 Minutes of Culture, though only 1% ever do. Perhaps you are that rare one who chooses to awaken.